All right, let's start today with the fun little media literacy examination. You know, one of the things that I believe and I hope distinguishes me from whoever else is out there giving you their opinion is that I tell you up front, I do not believe that I am the ultimate source of truth. I do not believe that my interpretation of world events or news clips or statements made by elected officials is the singular and only way to interpret these. Sometimes I'm corrected by the audience convincingly, and I will revise my view or tell you I had an incomplete picture or just whiffed it or whatever the case may be. One of the real concerning trends that we've seen from the world of MAGA, and this includes both Trump himself, Trump staffers, the people around him, the communications people around him, and even just right-wing journalists and pundits and commentators, is that they want you to believe and sometimes explicitly say they are the ultimate source of truth. They are the ones who can tell you how you should interpret what you are hearing and seeing. Sometimes it's very overt. For example, you might remember Donald Trump back when he was president. Who even remembers what the topic was? But Trump said, you cannot believe what you are hearing and seeing. He will tell us what is going on, telling whoever is willing to listen that he's the ultimate source of truth. Now, one of the ways that this has manifested over the last 6 months as Donald Trump continues to be increasingly incoherent and authoritarian is what we have increasingly decided to call sane-washing, which is that people around Trump, be they journalists, commentators, staffers, or advisors, or even J.D. Vance in some cases, will have to come around with the proverbial pooper scooper to clean up the mess left by Trump. And sometimes cleaning up that mess means simply telling you he's not out of his mind. What you just heard is perfectly sane, and it makes perfect sense. And I have an example of that. With a completely straight face, the deputy editor of the DC Examiner, Kaylee McGhee, says that when Donald Trump gives these completely incoherent, rambling answers about how tariffs work or how he will bring down prices, that he is being straight and direct. And I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. She said this on the Fox and Friends weekend show. I think you can actually hear some of the hosts kind of snickering, like, what the hell is she talking about? This is the prototypical example of sane-washing, where Kaylee McGhee wants to be the ultimate source of truth on interpreting Trump. Listen to this.
Which is, we are an optimistic people. Oh, boy. Just going to do this for you before we start.
I live in a glass house on that one.
Here to help us translate, Washington Examiner Deputy Editor Kaylee McGhee White. What do you make of this town hall? I mean, obviously this did not help her.
No, and I don't know if I'm going to be much help translating. I'm Gen Z, so I have about a 15-second attention span, so I lost her at about patriotism or whatever she was trying to say. However, I'm glad that we didn't hear about her lawn this time, so that is a bit of an improvement. But, you know, this is more rambling word salad from Kamala Harris, and you compare this answer to an answer that Donald Trump gave back at a campaign rally in my home state of Michigan last week. Both of these candidates were asked very directly about their economic plan. His answer was so straight and direct. He said that he's going to increase energy, lower interest rates, and bring back common sense. And then you compare that to what Kamala Harris just said, and it's very clear why she's dropping in a lot of these swing states, because she is incapable, apparently, of giving straight answers on policy questions.
Straight and direct is Donald Trump when he's asked, how will you bring down prices? How will you make groceries more affordable? How will you make childcare more affordable? Well, let's examine whether what Kaylee McGhee, or I guess now she goes by Kaylee McGhee White, what she's saying about Donald Trump's answers. Here is an example of clear and direct Trump clearly and directly explaining how he will make childcare more affordable. This was just a little over a week ago. You tell me whether her characterization of Trump's explanations on economics are straight and direct, or even intelligible.
If you win in November, can you commit to prioritizing legislation to make childcare affordable? And if so, what specific piece of legislation will you advance?
Okay, so this is a clear and direct question. Like Kaylee McGhee White said, it's a very specific question. Let's see how he answers it.
Well, I would do that, and we're sitting down. I was we had Senator Marco Rubio, and my daughter Ivanka was so impactful on that issue. It's a very important issue. But I think when you talk about the kind of numbers that I'm talking about, because look, childcare is childcare. There's something, you have to have it. In this country, you have to have it.
Right.
But when you talk about those numbers compared to the kind of numbers that I'm talking about by taxing foreign nations at levels that they're not used to, but they'll get used to it very quickly. And it's not going to stop them from doing business with us, but they'll have a very substantial tax when they send product into our country. Those numbers are so much bigger than any numbers that we're talking about, including childcare, that it's going to take care. We're going to have, I look forward to having no deficits within a fairly short period of time, coupled with the reductions that I told you about on waste and fraud and all of the other things that are.
Okay, it goes on for an additional minute, but you have to be able to decide, is Kaylee McGhee White correct when she calls these answers straight and direct? Or am I right when I call these answers riddled with non sequiturs and completely incoherent? I don't believe factually there's anything in there explaining how he will bring down the cost of childcare. Kaylee McGhee White wants to sane-wash this answer so that you come away going, wow, how straight and direct Donald Trump was there. Here's another example. This is a clip from the Michigan town hall that Kaylee McGhee is praising. This is the one where Trump sat down with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And here is Trump confusing Alaska with Afghanistan. You tell me whether this is straight and direct.
We're energy independent. We were soon going to be energy dominant, and we would have been now having so much money coming out of the energy. We just have the best. We have Bagram in Alaska. They say it might be as big, might be bigger than all of Saudi Arabia. I got it approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. I got it done.
Right. Ronald Reagan was not able to get Bagram Air Force Base built in Alaska. He wasn't able to do it. Now, of course, Donald Trump is talking about ANWR, A-N-W-R. He's confused, is disoriented, but it is not exactly straight and direct. So listen, you should fact check me. You should go back to the sources. You should see whether I'm giving you an honest characterization of what's going on. So go back and look at these, watch the entire 90-minute town hall or however long it was, and you determine whether Trump's being straight and direct or dissembling and incoherent. And then based on that, you can decide, is this somebody that I want to vote for? But this new sane-washing, blatant, nakedly political sane-washing that they send the MAGA people around with the proverbial pooper scoopers to clean up Trump's messes, I don't think it's going to work on you. It may work on some of the people we see at the Trump rallies, but I just don't believe most voters are going to be so easily tricked. Are you looking to elevate your fitness routine with a science-backed approach? Alpha Progression is the ultimate workout app designed to deliver real results no matter where you are on your fitness journey. What really makes Alpha Progression exceptional is its unbeatable value, intuitive interface, and fully customizable workout plans that are tailored to exactly what you need. With an impressive 4.9-star rating across both the Apple and Google App Stores and tens of thousands of glowing reviews, this app has earned its reputation. Twice recognized as Apple's App of the Day, Alpha Progression is a trusted choice for fitness. If you're just starting out, if you have years of experience, Alpha Progression focuses on maximizing muscle gain with science-based workout plans that align with your personal goals. These are created by seasoned bodybuilders. The app offers expert guidance and strategies similar to those of a personal trainer, but at a tiny fraction of the cost. Get the results you're striving for with Alpha Progression, all while staying within your budget. We are partnering with Alpha Progression to give you 20% off your first year when you sign up for an annual plan, or 20% off your first month if you go monthly. Go to alphaprogression.com/Pacman. The link is in the description.